Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And in this video, we're going to talk about experiences landlording. So I know I made that clickbaity thumbnail about oh my OMG, the tenant paid $12,000 rent check, and I want to talk about how we can get tenants to pay money and be appreciative of us as landlords, or possibly be future landlords if you're not a landlord right now, and create a dynamic where people don't see you as like maybe like a leech that maybe people think of, when you see like forums and stuff where it's like, oh, anti-landlord, landlord's a leech, right? And I do think that landlords do provide a valuable service. It may not be like a really hard service, like I feel kind of I don't really feel like I do that much, but there is a component that you can provide where the tenants will provide your service to be valuable, and they appreciate what you have to offer, and you create that dynamic that most landlords will probably never experience, regardless of the number of houses that they have. So I want to just kind of talk about my experiences, how you may be able to emulate them. Again, you're not me. And full disclosure, I'm a relatively new landlord, so I don't have everything dialed down. But what I've taken is my experiences in corporate consulting. Well, I'll say it that way. And I remember when I did corporate consulting that I would get responses from them that I never got anywhere else. And none of the team members that I knew could replicate that kind of reaction that the clients would give. And the clients would always say things like, "Oh my goodness, this is awesome! Oh my goodness, you're the best!" Right? And I don't really feel like I did that much, other than these three things, right? So the first one is you have to think of yourself that whenever you have a customer or client, that you're automatically in a leadership position. You're automatically a leader, right? You don't have to be the CEO, you don't have to be the manager. When you're assigned to take care of other people, you are in a leadership position, right? So like the person who makes the French fries in McDonald's, they're the leader of making sure the French fries get out. You are in a leadership position and you're there to take care of whoever you're assigned to take care of. And as a landlord, that would be assigned to take care of the tenant, right? And you got to be a communicative leader and learn to set expectation. Number two, you have to treat others with respect. So I know that there are a lot of bad landlords out there, and I can kind of think of my own experience, bad experience being a tenant and under like being confused by like a landlord would talk to me in a certain way and then just not wanting to like be in the place, right? And if you have a tenant who's kind of mentally checked out, well, guess what? They're not going to pay you the rent, or they're going to pay you the rent at the very last moment, and you're going to be wondering like, well, why is this tenant late? Or um, why do I have a hard time with the tenant? 99% of it is just bad communication, and you could just kind of think of that as like not just with tenants, but with any sort of business and customers in general, right? Number three is you learn how to solve problems, right? So in order to make the money, you have to be a problem solver and not just fall in love with the money, right? Learn to solve other people's problems and you can get what you want. And there's a nice quote right here by Zig Ziglar that you can have everything in life that you want if you will help other people get what they want, right? So very profound quote. I think about my experiences as like a tenant, and I remember like the landlord, and I did kind of like a Craigslist room share, but with other Korean people. But I remember the landlord was like, "Oh my gosh, the taxes have been raised, and I need an extra $100 or $200 from you." And I'm like, "Why do you, I was just kind of like not into it. You know what I'm saying? That the landlord would talk to me like that. The landlord isn't communicating like she's the leader, right? She's just talking to me like I'm just some sort of a resource to extract money from. And that's definitely not the dynamic you want to position, like you want to establish or position yourself as. You want to establish yourself as someone who's there to take care of the tenant, right? When the tenant has problems. And I'm not saying tenants are perfect. In fact, when I first started becoming a landlord, I found that the finding the tenant was like the hardest part of the entire process. Like I would find so many prospects who were like, to me, it felt like a joke. Like they say, "Oh, I'm going to be there at 7," and they never show up. Or it's like, "Oh, I want this place," and then I offer them a lease, and I did the application and everything, and then they ghosted me, and I'd be like really confused. Or like in a housing shortage scenario, I had one prospect who tried to like negotiate discounts with me, and I'm like, yeah, right. But again, that was the hardest part of being a landlord, which is just finding a tenant. And I found, I had one tenant who couldn't find housing, who had a lot of money because that tenant had inherited a lot of money, and that showed me the bank account, and nobody would rent to this tenant or to this prospect at the time because they don't match like the qualifications. The qualifications, are like you need a job and you need credit. But here's the thing about landlording, right? As far as I'm aware, you can discriminate financially, right? You can't discriminate in other things that are protected by HUD or the federal government, like race, gender, all those other things. You can't discriminate with that, but you can definitely discriminate financially. And this tenant had the financials, right? And so, um, you know, if no one was going to provide her housing and that was the tenant's problem, then I'm going to solve the problem by providing housing. And she was incredibly grateful. Let's say that, incredibly grateful. And so as you can see here, she actually said, "You know what? I'll give you the year's worth of rent if you let me stay." Right? And I said, "Right, fill out the application and we'll see how it goes." And then I think what happened is I said yes to her. Yeah, okay, you can, eventually I said yes. You could stay at the house or you can lease the house. And then she kind of got suspicious. I think what happened is she kind of got suspicious. It's like, wait a minute, I'm going to give you a whole year's worth of rent. Because I think what happened is that every other landlord that she had talked to, and she was looking for housing for a year, that's what she told me, um, they all said no to her, right? So I'm the first one who says yes. I'm solving her problem, and then she realized, oh my goodness, I'm giving a year's worth, well, paying a year's worth of rent up front, and this could be a scam, right? And I totally get it. And I said, okay, look, just pay me 6 months, and then we'll be good, and we'll go from there. And so she did pay me 6 months, and she's paying every 6 months. It's actually working out because I don't have to like pick up the rent every single month and make a hassle and out of her great tenant, right? But I want to show you something. So I want to show you something right here where this is after I gave the keys. This is the first text message I got. Thank you so much for everything. We appreciate you, right? And my response is no problem, happy to be of service. And I think the system glitched here, or the text messaging glitched here. It got sent twice. But what I'm saying is like, have you heard of landlords creating an experience where the tenant is basically handing, half the year's worth of rent and saying thank you, right? And why is that? That most landlords don't experience that is because of their attitude and their leadership. And this is why I always talk about how leadership is the most important value that's lacking in our society. That you have to be a leader. You cannot fall in love with the money. What you have to do is follow with the process of helping other people, and they will give you the money, right? And I know that it seems kind of weird because we don't have too many people like that in society. And when you step into that territory, it almost feels like that people will make fun of you, and you're walking into unknown territory. That when you act that way, hey, I've been made fun of by having that attitude. You act a little bit different from what's the norm in society. People make fun of you, but look at the results, right? And that's what I'm trying to show you, that if you actually do what's right for other people, even solve problems that you think aren't even problems, people will hand you money voluntarily and say thank you to you, right? People will do that for you. And that's what something a lot of people don't realize because, in society, a lot of people I've interacted with and been very disillusioned, disappointed by, I always felt like they had this attitude that they'd rather steal $1 from me than make $1 million with me, right? And I was always disappointed by that. And so I think one day I just got tired of how things were, and I say, okay, well, I'm just going to do the exact opposite of the way that I've been treated as a younger person and actually do things right, and let's see what the results that we get, right? And so this person, the tenant, gave 6 months worth of rent up front. And who does that, right? Who does that? And so it's now been 6 months, and let me just show you this. August 31st. If you look at the date, it says August 31st, 2023, right there. Let me just do this, circle that. August 31st, 2023. So this was literally just about 2 days ago. 2 days ago. And, I got the check. I met her. I just said hello. And, we saw each other for about 5 seconds. And then she said thank you and she left. And I've seen the house. It's in great condition. The tenant takes care of it. It's awesome. And very grateful to be there, right? You know, because I saw the problem and I was acting like a responsible person by providing housing. Now, it might not seem like a big deal to maybe some of you who, just have a place to stay, but there are some people out there with a lot of money who can't find a place to stay because, many landlords are bad or they have criteria that doesn't make sense. Like if you have a lot of money, what's the point of having a job or good credit, right? How you know what I mean? And if the tenant is voluntarily saying, like, I'm going to prepay the rent, what's wrong with that? Especially, you gotta work with people and you gotta help them solve their problem because you're providing a service that they can't get from anywhere else. And you, as a landlord, have to be a leader and be able to provide good, clean housing. If there's an issue, let's say maybe like a water leak or something with the pipe, you got to be communicative, set expectations, just fix it right away. Don't be one of those landlords who treat their tenants like they're some sort of a burden to what you really want to do. You ever feel that way when interacting with people? They always act like, you're wasting their time or something like that. Don't be that. Be there for people. People will, and this is my experience, people will happily give you their money if you help them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why, even though it's like, I have like a clickbaity title, what I'm trying to get to a point is to watch this video and understand that good leadership is needed, right? Landlords have to see themselves as leaders to help their tenants achieve their goals. And really, the goal is really easy. Simply provide housing, good, clean housing, right? I don't think it's that hard, but because so little people do it, that's why she would be so appreciative of it, because she spent a year trying to find housing and she had the money to do it, right? She had the money, right? And that's how I see this $12,000. It's actually not even $12,000, $12,300 check. The way I see it is because I don't even care about the money, to be honest. But I know that it will come when I learn to help others, and that's what the attitude that you should have, right? So trying to make that point there. Okay. All right. So this is a Korean Atlanta mentorship. If you're interested in joining our group and learning about real estate investing, entrepreneurship, leadership, go ahead and join. I'm not sorry, not join. Go ahead and click the Google link form below, and then we'll get on a Zoom call, see if you're a good fit for our group, or you could email us by going to the About page of our YouTube channel, and then we can just go from there. Have a great day, everybody, and we will speak next time.